Welcome to the Mentor Podcast, where the most highly motivated entrepreneurs come to get their weekly dose of financial stability with host Ron LeGrand, as well as other nationally recognized thought leaders who will teach you how to get, grow, and protect your wealth.
Well, hello, everybody. This is Ron LeGrand with another edition of the Mentor Podcast, where our objective is to help you make more money, make it faster, keep more of it, and retire rich. I have a very special guest with me today. His name is Marshall Sylver. And Marshall and I go back a long ways, and I've often said in many classes, I wished I could send people to Marshall before they come to me, because Marshall's all about getting your head on straight so I can teach you how to actually make money and get yourself out of the way. Welcome, sir. Privileged to have you.
So glad to be here. Thanks so much, Ron. I appreciate anything you do. You're the best in the world at what you do, and I'm just grateful to spend time with you.
Good looking, too.
Yeah, you are. That's for sure.
Okay, well, listen, you and I both know that you spend your life getting people's head fixed, and I spend my life teaching them how to make money. So you and I go back a long ways. You tell me, in your experience, what is it that keeps people from doing the things that they know darn well they ought to be doing, and they just can't seem to get it done?
You know, it's always boggling to me. You go to any one of your courses, any one of your events, and there's some people in there that have produced massive results and are, living the life, making boatloads of money and just giddy about how their life changed. And when I look at the other people who haven't done anything, I know it's not that they don't know what to do. They know what to do. And it's not they don't have a game plan. You gave them a game plan. You gave them the tools. And so what it comes down to is a couple things. Number one, they're messed up. Inside of their brain, there are programs. There are things that they think are real that aren't. There are things that aren't real that they think are. And it stops them from actually following through and taking an action. And the biggest challenge is, that first transaction, that first once somebody does a deal and puts, tens of thousands of dollars or more in their pocket, then they step into a new reality. And since reality is created by validation, it's the first deal that is so hard. And so I always tell people a couple of things. Number one, make ridiculous offers. And number two, decide to skip your first deal if you have to and just move on to your second deal and act as if you are already a massively successful real estate investor. It not only works for the individual internally, it also works for the outside world and creates a greater level of confidence when they go out and make their first offers or do their first transactions. So the first thing to understand is there's never going to be a good economy or a bad economy. It's just the economy. Timing will never be perfect to do your first deal or any deal for that matter. And you've got to learn how to fail forward fast. You've got to, trust the process, do exactly as you're directed, even if you think it won't work out, because it does. And it's been proven again and again and again and again. So the biggest thing I tell people is you must say the words, I am a real estate investor, before you've done a single investment.
So Marshall, what do you think what the deep-seated underlying problem is? I'm guessing it's going to be fear of some sort, which also generates low self-esteem. At least that's my experience. People come
100%.
to class.
Our net worth is based on our self-esteem, and our self-esteem based upon the talk that we have inside of our subconscious mind, telling us who we are and who we aren't, what we can be, what we can do, what we can have. And anytime I've made a massive shift in my world, anything, whether it was getting married to my one true wife, or whether it was, getting fit again, or even, any business, what I do is I look for people that started off worse than where I am right now, that I can identify with, and I look at them and their level of success. And that's the first thing that goes into my programming, is I find somebody that, was dirt poor when they were born and raised, went and learned some skill set, created massive results, because then I don't have any excuses. It's so essential. You got to find mentors. You got to find people that, once again, you can identify with, that the moment you get off track, all you do is look back at their life and you say to yourself, if they did it, I can do it. You came obviously from an auto mechanic background of busting your knuckles and making okay money. And then you realize that, those that work govern those that labor. And so what you did is you said, you know what, failure is not an option. I'm making this thing and I'm making it in a huge way. And then I know because of the goodness of your heart, what you've done is exactly what I believe in, is that you've said, you know what, I need to enroll some other people in this. And what a lot of people don't realize is that by you and me helping people have a better economy, having them make more money, we're not creating competition. On the contrary, what we're doing is increasing our net worth, because when housing starts to become better, when home values and property values go up, what happens is the entire economy follows suit. So for selfish reasons, I train people. For selfish reasons, I create millionaires, not for the money that they'll pay me in training. Heck no, that's minor compared to the massive impact it has inside of the economy, both for me, both for you, and for them as well.
So what would you tell our listeners to do if they need to get their confidence level up and start getting their head on straight? I mean, look, I'm telling you, I have had people come to class I just had one the other day. I was on stage and we did this great deal for him. We called it sell it for him, negotiated a great deal for him. All the guy had to do was raise the money for closing cost. That's all it took for a little bit of closing costs. And he got to make, I don't know what it was, $20,000-$30,000. And he was so petrified that he didn't even know where that money would come from. Tell you the truth, I got a little upset at him on the
I don't
stage.
blame you.
I mean, God.
Don't blame you. But by the way, I'll take the deal.
Get the deal. The money's coming.
I'll take the deal if it's still available.
It's not.
I teach a technology that I call psychoneuroduplication. My whole thing is making it as simple as possible for people to produce a result. You know, there's a lot of trainers and speakers and gurus that complicate things. And I think that's one of the reasons you and I have gotten along so well for so many decades, is both of us just like to keep it simple. And so psychoneuroduplication has 3 simple steps. Step 1, say the words, I am fill in the blank, whatever it is. I am an awesome father. I am an amazing husband. I am a multimillionaire. I am a real estate investor. You say the words, and when you say the words, what happens is the subconscious mind, in its infinite storehouse of knowledge, goes into your mind and it starts pulling out the things that would support that truth. So if I say I am a real estate investor, my subconscious mind says, well, then let's go make offers. Well, then let's go invest. Let's go do what we need to do. So step 1, as simple as it sounds, is to simply say the words, whatever that is that you're working on. Step 2 is you gather up the available data. Notice I didn't say all the data. I said the available data. And the reason is perfection paralyzes. And the reason the person that you put the deal together for, 100% done, all they had to do was come up with a little bit of closing cost money. The reason they didn't follow through is their own self-esteem said, yeah, what if it doesn't work out? Right. You know, life gives us choices. If we don't make a choice, we are making a choice for naught. And if we don't make a choice, the world will make that decision for us. My experience has been people that are highly successful make decisions very quickly. They let their yes be yes. They let their no be no, always aware they can change their minds. You know, the fact of the matter is, you and I, and anybody that's successful for that matter, have lost more money than people that are broke will ever even make in a lifetime. And so I think that part of the challenge is becoming unconnected, disconnected to being rich or being poor, because they're all temporary. And as long as you're swinging the bat, you're going to favor on the side of rich every single time. So step 2 of PND is gather up the available data. Get all the information you can. And like I said at the top of this podcast, there's no better place for anybody to go to get solid, up-to-date, powerful information that actually works on real estate investing than through you. So number 1, say the words, I'm a real estate investor. Number 2, gather up the available data, not all the data. Don't wait till you know everything, because you never will. And even if you know everything, it doesn't mean things are going to turn out in any particular fashion. All you can do is skew the game in your favor. And then step 3 of PND is to act as if success is certain. It's a given. Like I said, nobody can control the economy. Heck, I had massive amounts of real estate leverage when the economy took its turn and got burned in quite a few ways then. The thing, though, is because of the knowledge, because of the actions I took, as things began to turn, which they are right now, as things began to turn, I wasn't paralyzed. I wasn't frightened. I knew that no matter what happens to me, I can handle it. And now we are in the biggest economic boom boon that you and I will ever see in our lifetimes. I'm seeing it everywhere around me. Real estate prices are rising, unemployment at record lows. We are in the very best period anybody listening to this podcast will ever have in our lifetime. And so people need to be confident. They need to be certain. They need to start taking actions. They need to start moving now, because there's an expression, Ron, in Vegas. We have the World Series of Poker here every single year. And as a poker player, when you sit down at the table, the thing you want to do is figure out who the fish is as fast as possible. The fish is the person that's going to lose their money the fastest. And if you're at the table and you can't figure out who the fish is, you're the fish. and so, I years ago when the economy started to change, I was at my home in Vegas, and the house across the street from me sold for 25% above appraisal. The day that happened, I said to myself, sell everything now.
Yeah,
because that's the thing, is that you've got to get ahead of the curve. And that's the reason everybody listening to this podcast, you want to capitalize on right now, because the economy is a pendulum swing. It never is all good or all bad. It's just a pendulum swing. It goes back and forth. And graciously, gratefully, we are on the upswing of that pendulum. Now is the time to capitalize.
Yep. And by the way, speaking of your house in Vegas, I've been there. You got quite a house in Vegas.
We dig it.
You dig it.
It's 17,000 square feet, and we have, as 17,000.
Jeez, Marshall, what does a couple need 17,000 square feet for?
We're a young, energetic couple, and we like variety.
Yeah, I guess. It is a beautiful house, I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's a blast, And so the 17,000 square foot house here, and the home that I have on the ocean in Southern California, the fact that I fly around in private jets, the fact that I'm able to live the life that I'm living is based on those things I just talked about. First and foremost, I had to get my head on straight. And I was born and raised in a family that there's 11 kids. Mom raised us almost exclusively on her own. And very early on, and I don't know the reason that my siblings didn't get the program that I got, very early on, I realized money cures most things. And I decided to make it my life from the time I was 7 years old through today, to figuring out what causes people to want to give certain people money or invest in certain things, and what causes them to not. And one of the key elements is a thing called velocity. And velocity is the speed with which money and frequency with which money changes hands. So imagine that I'm in Las Vegas, and it's 5 o'clock at night, and my family's at the beach house. I came back to Vegas to get some things done. And I realized that I'm missing my family. And so I said, you know what? I was going to spend the night. What the heck? I'm just going to jump in the car and I'll drive to San Diego to see my family. So I get in the car at 5 o'clock. Normally, it's a 3.5 hour drive for me the way I drive. And I get on the freeway, and it just so happens that it's Electric Daisy Carnival weekend, where 150,000 Southern Californians drive into Vegas for this concert. And they're wearing furry hats and furry boots. And the concert has just gotten over. I'm on the freeway, and it's bumper to bumper. We are not moving at all. So 5 hours later, I'm still on the freeway, and I'm barely halfway there. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm exhausted. I either need to pull over and get some rest, or I need a cup of coffee. I won't make it to San Diego. At this rate, it's going to take me 8 hours. And so I pull off the freeway, and there's this little flea bite town, and there's really nothing there. There's a motel, which isn't really a motel because the M is burned out on the sign, so it's an hotel. There's an hotel there. There is a gas station. There's a bar, and there's a grocery store. That's it. There's nothing else there. And so I pull off at 10 o'clock at night into the motel, and I notice there's no cars there. I go in the front door, and the owner is behind the counter, and I say, how much to stay at your motel? And he says, $100 a night. And I looked around, and I said to him, you got to be kidding me. He said, we're the only game in town. And he's sounding remarkably like Jack Nicholson in The Shining, by the way, which has me nervous. And so I said, okay, let me check out the room. And so I pull out $100 cash. I put it down on the counter. I said, look, if I stay in the room, keep the $100. If I check it out and I decide not to stay, I'll come back and get my $100 and be on my way. He says, fine. I no sooner get out of my shot when he reaches down, he grabs that $100 bill, he runs across the street into the bar, and he says to the owner of the bar, he says, hey, Mac, this should cover my tab. Mac takes the $100, and says to the guy across the bar from him, drinking at his bar, he says, "Hey, Willie, this is for the groceries I bought from your grocery store." Willie grabs the $100, says to his friend Rod, who's sitting beside him, his drinking buddy, he says, "Hey, Rod, this should pay for the repairs you made on my car." Rod picks up the money, winks at the woman at the end of the bar, and says, "You know what this is for." She grabs the money, runs across the street to the motel, says to her husband, "Sweetheart, you remember that $100 I borrowed from you? I'd like to pay you back." He puts the $100 bill on the counter. I decide I'm not going to stay. I walk out, grab my $100, get in my car, I'm on my way. The question I have for anybody listening to this podcast is, were all of those debts paid in full or not? And the answer, of course, is yes, they were. And they were because of my willingness to create velocity with my money. I put it on the counter. It traded all those hands. I got it back. All of those debts were paid in full. You know, one of the biggest challenges for people is they're concerned about losing. That's the reason they don't do the deals. That's the reason the guy in his fearful state couldn't come up with the closing costs is, what if it doesn't work out? And the answer always has to be, what if it would have and you didn't do it?
Right.
You know, you've met my beautiful wife, Erica. I was married twice before I met my one true wife. And when Erica and I met, I was smitten immediately. She's an amazing human being. Yet I had been so knocked down from my previous marriage. I'd been married 11 months, divorced in 4.5 years, that I swore I would never get married again. And so when we met, she said, "Do you think you'll ever want to get married again?" And I said, "Absolutely not." And she didn't get upset. She didn't, get angry or anything. She said, "Okay." And I remember I was at somebody else's seminar, and we're having lunch, and the guy asked me, "I've never seen you so much in love, Marshall. When are you guys getting married?" And I said, "None of your business." And Erica put her hand on my shoulder and said, "Whether Marshall and I are ever legally married or not, we'll be together for life." And I looked at her and I realized I wasn't afraid of marriage. I just didn't want another divorce. And in that moment, I knew she was the one. I proposed to her a week later, and almost 12 years now later, I love her more today than I've ever loved her in my life. She's birthed 3 beautiful kids, and
you guys been married 12 years already, Marshall?
Isn't that awesome?
Oh, geez. I remember when you got married.
I say this to anybody listening, if you've had a bad meal and you still eat, it's the same thing you got to do in real estate investing. Even if you've lost money, even if you've never taken, never even bought your initial investment property, you got to eat. You got to step up to the table. You got to fail forward fast. Remember, say the words, "I am a real estate investor." Gather up the available data and then act as if your success is certain.
But Marshall, what if somebody hates me or says something bad about me?
Good. Then you're playing the game full on, I guarantee you. Obviously, you and I are very visible and prone to have trolls attack us. And the reason people attack other people is it's their own understanding that they're not succeeding. And so, I used to take it personally a while back when I would get attacked and I'd experience the haters. And now I don't. I just say, you know what? I pray for you. I pray things work out well to the point where you're not paying so much attention to me that you can pay attention to yourself and get everything you want in your life. I warn
people live to criticize, condemn, and complain because their life sucks.
Yeah, that's why.
I learned to just frankly ignore them. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's what I do. Water on a duck's back is what I say.
I got a question for you. I got a question for you. Take a breath. What's the hardest thing you've ever had to deal with in your life?
There was a point that I was going through my divorce. Like I said, I was married for 11 months. The divorce took 4.5 years. And the reason the divorce was taking so long is my ex was dating the judge overseeing the proceedings unbeknownst to me. And I was paying my attorney's fees. He required me to pay her attorney's fees. I was required to give her spousal support. So there was nobody in the courtroom other than me that wanted that thing to be over. I had a girlfriend, and my girlfriend was robbing me blind and cheating on me. My self-esteem was so low that I allowed it to happen. I continued letting it happen even after I figured out what was going on. I am crying my eyes out to the woman that was running my company. And unbeknownst to me, because I was in such a delicate circumstance, such a vulnerable circumstance, she was embezzling over $1 million from me.
Jeez.
On top of all that, I was being attacked by the government for something that I had not done and was threatened with 27 years in prison. And so one day I'm praying to God and I said, "God, what should I do?" And I got a very clear message. And this is a really good thing for anybody listening to this right now. If you're feeling overwhelmed, like it's just too much, is the voice said, God said to me, one fire at a time. Handle one fire at a time. And so I went to the girlfriend from hell and I said, we're done. Go cheating on somebody else, go rob somebody else. I put together a case to go after the woman that embezzled the money from me. I went into the court and told the judge, I said, I have no idea why this has taken 4.5 years. All they have to do is pick a number. You can either throw me in jail for contempt or whatever you need to do, but I'm not paying another dime in spousal support. And today they're going to give me a number, whatever that number is. And they did. They gave me a number that day, which was more than I had. Yet I said, I'll make payments. I'm fine. And then I went to the government and I said, look, you guys have been dragging me through the mud for 4 years. You've never charged me. Either charge me or I'm going to sue you for interference in my business. And they did. And I was 100% exonerated and it was done. And through all of that stuff, I'll tell you the thing that kept me alive is I kept thinking about my students. And I know the same thing is true of you. I kept thinking about my students and how much I had changed their lives and how much gift I had given them. And I realized that, if I couldn't handle my stuff, how could they ever be expected to handle it? And when I did handle my stuff and I was triumphant and I overcame all those obstacles, I knew it would be a stronger, better lesson for them and that they too would know they could.
So basically, you had two choices: stick your head in the sand, or put your butt in the air.
Yep.
Just fight
makes
through
you a
it,
bike rack.
get over it, get stronger, develop alligator skin, and actually get to the point to where nothing really bothers you anymore. Because if you dealt with this, you can deal with anything.
100%. It's kind of like I'm so glad I was married before I met Erica twice. And I'm so glad that my second marriage was so bad. One of the reasons I'm positive that our marriage is so good, she's young, she's never been married before, and I'm a really good hypnotist, is that the fact anytime something comes up, I look at her and I remind myself, this is nothing. Remember what you went through before. This is nothing. And I also think, Ron, the idea that I was born poor and then I became very rich and then I lost it all and became poor again. Then I became rich again. I married the wrong person and then I lost it all. Then I became rich again. The economy kind of impacted me a bit, as it did everybody. And I got less rich, and now I'm rich again. And I think the biggest lesson for me is to not be attached to either side. Don't be attached to being rich. Don't be attached to being broke. Just ride your ride. Play your game as well as you can. I look at the downturn or the dip that I went through, as most people did, in 28 through 2016. And during that time, I was with my wife, and I was very wealthy when we met. And during the downturn, she said, look, Marshall, sell everything. I don't care if we live in a one-bedroom studio apartment, sell everything. I'm here for you. And I looked at her and I realized, wow, maybe this minor downturn for me was just to reinforce that I married the right person. Because clearly, whether I'm wealthy or not, she's not going anywhere.
So maybe you really are rich, Marshall.
I'm very rich regardless of the money that I have. That is for sure.
Yeah. Money comes and goes, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. But good friendships and good relationships, they're for a lifetime.
All right. So what's going on in your life today? What's your passions now?
I was kind of semi-retired when Sterling was born. I caught him in the bathtub, looked into his eyes, and I told Erica shortly after my first son was born that all I want to do is spend the rest of my time with you guys. I'm going to go into semi-retirement. And then my son Maximus was born in the bathtub, and I caught him in my hands, and I said, you know what? I'm so thrilled to be retired. All I want to do is, travel the world and be with you guys. And then my daughter Prosperity was born, and I caught her in the bathtub, and I looked into her eyes, and I thought to myself, little girls are really expensive. I need to get back to work. and my challenge I have been blessed with the Buddhist curse. And, the curse, may all of your greatest desires be instantaneously fulfilled. And the challenge was with Erica, and especially with the kids, I had everything that I wanted. I don't need any more square footage. I don't need any more cars. I don't even have space in the garage for any more cars. I have everything. Yeah. And then I realized that, I'm living a life that most people couldn't even fathom. And I'm being selfish by being in retirement, and that I needed to come out of retirement. And so the thing that I've come out for is during the most challenging times that I have had, I realized it wasn't hypnosis, it wasn't reprogramming that helped me. It was the sense of certainty about something, the certainty of the success, the certainty of an outcome, being a certain father, being a certain husband, being a certain millionaire, being a certain man. And so we are rolling out the technology that I created while I was retired called Certainty. And with Certainty International, what we're going to be doing and what we are in the process of doing is opening up certainty centers across North America first and then beyond. And what the certainty centers are twofold. They are an entertainment and an education facility. We've acquired our first property down in Carlsbad, California. I acquired a theater that was built in 1927. And on Friday and Saturday nights, there'll be an entertainment program called the Show of Certainty, where people will come in and they'll see the performer use language patterns that are so certain that people respond in the most amusing, amazing, and powerful ways. Everything from speaking languages from another planet to walking on broken glass to making their bodies stiff and rigid so the performer can walk up them like a human staircase. And then after the performance, the performer will say to the audience, hey, if you've loved what you've seen, and I know you have, on Tuesday night, we're going to be doing an event called The Missing Piece to Millions, where I'm going to teach you how I did all these certain language patterns and certain processes and how you too can become a certain person. And then they'll come back on Tuesday and we'll introduce them to the educational programs that we do. The centers, though, will also offer up free education on a regular basis for people that maybe, don't have two nickels to rub together. They may be homeless, just to give them their confidence back, give them their dignity back, and, raise them up so that they can be productive members of society.
Well, that sounds like Marshall Sylver. Speaking of training, we were able to convince you to come spend some time with us at our summit. I can tell you right now, guys, if you've never seen Marshall hypnotize folks, he does a heck of a show. In fact, you'll be laughing so hard your gut will hurt.
Yep.
And then you're gonna next morning you're gonna teach us how to get our head straight. Tell me, give us an idea of what we are going to learn from you after we see your show, Marshall.
Yeah, after the show, I'm going to come back the next day and I'm going to actually teach a lot of what we've been talking about. I'm going to teach people how to reprogram their own subconscious minds, how they can become someone new to produce the result they want to produce. More than that, though, if I'm asked, not just in real estate investing, in business in general, what is the number one skill set you must possess to be successful in any business, particularly real estate investing? And I don't hesitate. The skill set is irresistible influence. You've got to learn how to sell anybody, anything at any time. And irresistible influence isn't getting someone else to say yes. Irresistible influence is getting them to beg you for what you're selling and have them believe it was their idea. And so that's what I'm going to be teaching at the educational portion of your event at your summit. I'm going to bring a random person up from the audience. I'm going to use what I call it's going to look like ordinary language patterns, but it's going to be subconscious. I'm going to speak directly to their subconscious mind to the point where I'm going to sell them something they didn't even know they wanted. They're going to beg me to sell it to them. And when I'm done, not only are they going to thank me, they're going to believe it was their idea. It's kind of like the ability to communicate to somebody in such a way that they beg you, take my home, nothing down, please.
That's cool. That's really cool. So we're going to put you on during the we're going to have a banquet, where we feed everybody, and then you're going to do a show during that banquet, whether you know it or not. Maybe you didn't. And for all
Anything
you guys,
for you, my friend.
Oh man, you're just such a pleasure to work with. For all you guys listening now, you better get registered for this summit if you haven't. All right, well, listen, Marshall, you are going to give away here, from what I understand, a 90-minute video training. You want to tell us what it is and how we can get to it?
Yeah, it's called Take Action Now, and it is a video that will not only teach people, it will demonstrate in real time the kinds of things that we do. And it's something that, if you're feeling stuck, if you think you have what it takes to get what you want, or even if you don't, it's going to get you unstuck. It's going to get you confident. It's going to get you determined, focused. And then the final thing it's going to do, it's going to turn up your wantingness. I came out of retirement for a lot of reasons, all very selfish. One of the biggest ones is I realized that people like you and like me, we can turn the economy around. And we turn it around one person at a time. When you and I can help other people create wealth, and then they feel confident and they put their money into the economy, and we create that velocity that I was talking about earlier, everybody wins. And so for selfish reasons, I want my children to be in a better world than what I was in. Any good parent, that's what we want. And my selfish way of doing that is by training people to become self-made multimillionaires, make them fully and totally responsible for their own lives, and inspire them to want to pay it forward and do the same for other people. So the DVD, it's a downloadable video program, video training. We sell it for $200. I'm going to give it as a gift to anybody listening to this podcast. And you know what the website is with the /Sylver. So what's that website?
TheMentorPodcast.com /SYLVER, Sylver, thementorpodcast.com/Sylver, and you'll get Marshall's free video. By the way, anything this guy does is incredible. All right. Well, listen, sir, it has been an honor having you on the other end of the telephone. I don't see you enough. Looking forward to see you, and I know that your message will resonate with everyone there because I've seen you do some amazing things from the stage. I've seen this guy actually program people to quit smoking, amongst a lot of other things. So anyway, I'll see you soon, and thanks for listening to this podcast. I'll see you on the next one, and appreciate your input, Mr. Marshall Sylver.
Awesome. Thanks, Ron.
That's all for this edition of the Mentor Podcast. To connect with Ron and learn how you can attain financial freedom, as well as up-to-date strategies to grow and protect your wealth based on today's discussion, go to www.connectwiththementor.com.